Hi guys, today I wanted to take a second look at the Huawei Mate 8 because I just had it already in for a comparison with the Nexus 6P. You can check that if you want to as well. But even though my review is just out for about 2 months, I still think it's worth taking a second look at it. And let me tell you why I think it's still one of the best, if not maybe the best, big phablet on the market right now. Because the price is at around 530 euros here, at least in Germany, depending on which color you get. And it definitely is a great offer right now. And why did I call it big phablet? Okay, if you compare it here with the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge with 5.5 inches, which is called already a phablet, everything starting from 5.5 inches, you will see how much bigger this still is, also in terms of the display. So there is a noticeable difference, and that's why I like to call it a big phablet. And the reason why I like this phone so much is the following. First of all, just look at the screen to body ratio. As you can see here, how much screen we have left. Okay, there's still a little bit of a black border all around, something Huawei just does in general, but the screen to body ratio with the small bezels is really great. Also, the build quality is still absolutely top notch. Nothing creaks. The aluminum feels super premium. We have beveled edges all around. They all look quite nice. What I noticed though here in my review unit, I think it must have dropped here because here the plastic, as you can maybe see, is a little bit below the actual metal frame, and there you have quite a sharp edge. So I guess this must have happened due to a drop, because my first review unit, and here also on the top, this is not the case. So someone must have done something to it here. But this is nothing that really breaks or makes the device feel any less. So it still feels absolutely great. I still think the button placement for a phablet is absolutely great done. The buttons are a little bit easy to push, but that's also something that Huawei just likes to do. But other than that, just look at the slim and thin profile. As you can see, really nicely done. And this has a huge battery. But let's get to the screen, and I want to just show you once again why this is such a lovely display. It is only 1080p on 6 inches, and you might now think this is not great anymore. But please don't believe all the 4K, 2K or whatever hype, because if you can just take a look at how nicely done those colors are. And I think the quality of a display and the calibration is so much more worth than the actual display resolution or anything else, because as you can see here, everything is super sharp. This is such a nice and clear, vibrant panel, and the calibration is just spot on, because we have a color temperature control where you can set the white, and this white pretty much beats, especially since you can adjust it to your liking, is the best one you can get on the market. It is also super bright, one of the brightest devices out now, and it's just a super lovely display. The sound, I won't go into that, you can check just the full review for that, but it's still totally solid, totally fine. Maybe not the very best one, it's just downfiring, but still. Also, what is so great is the performance. If you just check this here, this extremely lightweight, smooth and responsive scrolling. Little to no lag. The odd thing is, after my update, it got a little bit more laggy, but since let's say the last week or so, it's gone already. So it's already super smooth now. There is still some occasional lag, and I still think kind of the update must have broken something, or at least degraded the performance, because it was a little bit nicer before, but it's still top notch. And this can be compared with something very close to the Samsung Galaxy S7 or maybe the Nexus 5X for sure. Nexus 6P also, it's a little bit different, the performance. I wouldn't say it's smoother or faster or something like that, but it's super snappy. All the gestures work absolutely great, as you can see here. Switching works just fine. So I still like the performance a lot for everyday tasks. It is still one of the nicest performers out there on the market. And just this makes me so excited about the Huawei P9 that should be released quite soon. Other than that, battery life still, this is one of the few devices if you want, because actually on my comparison of the Nexus 6P and Huawei Mate 8, a lot of people told me what is very important for them is the better in-hand feel, because this feels better than the Nexus 6P. It just feels a little bit more substantial, a little bit more premium, even though the Nexus 6P also from Huawei does it as well, but this feels just a tad better for some reason. And they said the premium feel is important and the battery life, because at least for me and some people that I talked to with is the Nexus 6P has good life, decent battery life, slightly above average for sure. Definitely totally good enough, but they said they want something really solid, and this is definitely something you get here, because 6.5, 7 maybe hours plus of screen on time is no problem here with this device, and killing it maybe even under 6 hours of screen on time is a very hard task to do, and it charges very nicely. And if you want some of the best battery performance, this is the way to go for. Of course, if we now talk about the software, a lot of people just wouldn't buy it because of that, because we don't have an app tray and maybe things like that, but I think we have other great things, because we have this slide out gestures, maybe not the most helpful thing, but what has improved the shortcuts now, you can customize them. What I absolutely love is this new recent apps, because this one makes it so easy, because the last app is always in the middle, and this makes switching between apps so nice and convenient. So I think they did a great job here. Of course, we still have the themes and you can take advantage of that, but the rest, just look at it. This is not bad. You have to get used to it a little bit, but I think actually, for example, first party apps like the clock, they look very, very nicely done. For example, if you use a stopwatch here, you have nice animations here with this, and the timer has it even nicer, because if you just set something up, let me quickly show you that. Oh yeah, here you can see it will bounce around. So there are definitely a few nice little details here on the software, so get used to it. Give it at least a fair chance and you will really see why I like it so much. And with Marshmallow, it really has gone. It's still a little bit on the more annoying side, but totally fine. And the camera, this is definitely the best Huawei camera, except of the Huawei Google Nexus 6P. And I still think you can really call the Nexus 6P a Huawei device, because Huawei, who usually provides me with these review units, didn't even get a Nexus 6P. I only got it from Google, their press agency. So I still think Google sees this more as a Nexus or a Google phone, but not as a Huawei. And that's why I can confidently say that this is the best Huawei, original Huawei camera, because pictures are super sharp, the selfie game is strong, low light is still totally fine, and this is the first Huawei cam that at least I know of that has a working autofocus in video, which makes a huge difference, because you don't really have to tap all the time anymore. And I just yesterday I think reviewed the Honor 7, and there still I had to tap all the time. Of course, this will be a thing of the past with the Huawei P9, and that one should be even better, but I still think this is a really legit flagship camera. And just once again, if we go into all the things once again, build quality is still on a super high flagship level. The display is absolutely magnificent, can beat even the best ones, and out of the box it definitely beats the Nexus 6P. Maybe if you prefer AMOLED or LCD, this could all make the change, but if you just look for a more natural and still vibrant and way better calibration in terms of white and everything, this one is one of the best displays you can get on any phone, period. Sound still totally fine, good enough, it was loud enough in all cases. Of course, I would have wished for them to be on the front, but we don't really have too much space on the front, so they should have or would have made the device bigger, which they didn't, so fine with me. Performance, top flagship level. I would say it's definitely top 5 level. It can compete with the Samsung Galaxy S7. It can easily compete with the Nexus 6P. So it's somewhere at around there. So absolutely fine. Battery life is where it beats pretty much all of them. But I'm not quite sure about the S7 Edge yet, because from what I see from my first rundown, this one gets very, very close. Maybe could even beat it. I can't say so sure yet, but these two are very close. So if you want the best phablet battery performer, it has to be something like the Huawei Mate 8 or even the S7 Edge. But if you want, like I said, a big phablet, then this one is definitely the way to go for. Software, you have to get used to it, but I still think it's worth getting used to it, because once you get a little bit past the UI design, maybe use a third-party launcher, you will be really satisfied with this one. I have no doubts about that. And then we have the flagship level camera, and all this in a package for around, let's say, $500, 500 euros. Quite soon it should drop down even a little bit more. This is still a high-end buy, and I love it absolutely. And if I would go for a phablet, maybe this one would actually be it, because it's really great. I think I've gone through it more than detailed once again, even though I did it already in the full review, but it is still a chance. So 2 months later, taking a second look again, I think I'm even more so impressed than I was back then, because I got to play with more higher end devices like the Samsung Galaxy S7, the Nexus 6P, and all those, and now I can set it into more of a perspective and see how good this actually was. Back then, I didn't even realize how great this phone actually is. So, this was it. If you want to like it, you know the rest. Subscribe and all that. But what I wish you in the first place is a nice day again. Until next time, bye.